Hello, my name is Luke Yamaguchi. I have no financial conflicts of interest to disclose. From March through October of last year, children 5 to 14 years old had a 1 in a million chance of dying with COVID-19 in the United States. For perspective, children in this age group were about 10 times more likely to die from suicide than from COVID-19. A recent article in the New York Times cited data showing that unvaccinated 5 to 11-year-old children are actually at less risk of hospitalization from COVID-19 than fully vaccinated older adults. For children 5 to 11 years old, the weekly rate of COVID-19 associated hospitalization has ranged from 0 to a peak of 1.1 per 100,000 population. Regarding herd immunity, the state of Vermont, despite having the highest COVID-19 vaccination rate in the country, is currently experiencing the highest number of active COVID-19 cases they have ever had throughout any point in the pandemic. Similarly, the country of Singapore, with 84% of their population fully vaccinated, is now experiencing their largest wave of COVID-19 cases and deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. With this in mind, I want to mention 3 factors that must be taken into account when making a risk-benefit analysis for COVID-19 vaccines in low-risk pediatric populations. The first point I want to make is that pediatric hospitalization rates are inflated by the detection of mild or asymptomatic infection due to universal COVID-19 testing procedures in hospitals. One study out of Stanford found that 45% of pediatric COVID-19 hospital admissions were not caused by SARS-CoV-2 infection, and so this must be accounted for in your risk-benefit analysis. Additionally, the risks of recommending COVID-19 vaccines to children who already have natural immunity against COVID must be taken into account. Current estimates would suggest that almost 50% of children have now recovered from COVID-19 and acquired natural immunity. The research is abundantly clear now that natural immunity to COVID-19 is vastly superior to vaccine-induced immunity because COVID-19 vaccine-induced immunity rapidly wanes over time and requires future booster doses, each of which carry their own risk. Furthermore, there's an additional risk with vaccinating people who have previously had COVID-19. Data out of the UK shows that prior COVID-19 infection is associated with increased risk of adverse events from Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, with young individuals more likely to report adverse events. So for about half the children in the United States who have likely already acquired natural immunity, the risks of COVID-19 vaccination almost certainly outweigh any possible benefit. And this needs to be accounted for in your risk-benefit analysis. The last thing I'll say is that it's possible that people who get a COVID-19 vaccine will need to get another booster dose every 6 months, potentially for the rest of their life. And with every additional booster dose, there will be the risk of myocarditis, along with the risk of other adverse events. You can't just look at a 6-month risk-benefit analysis and say that it's all good. You have to look at the long-term risks versus benefits, taking into consideration that natural immunity is broad, robust, and long-lasting, and vaccine-induced immunity is not. And so I urge the community to exercise the precautionary principle and withhold the EUA of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for children 5 to 11 years of age. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.